It is a wild scene outside an illegal immigrant processing center in Broadview, Illinois. You know, on Fridays, this gets hot. Let's go straight to Garrett Tenney on the ground down there so this can turn dangerous. Garrett, I see that they are arresting some people down there. What's going on?
Yeah, we probably have at least a half dozen or so people that were arrested just in the last few minutes. And this is the regular Friday protest that we have here outside the Broadview ice processing facility. A couple hundred people that are here. And what happened in the last 10 or 15 minutes, this roadway right here that leads to the ice facility, it is blocked off. They are not supposed to be standing there. But over 10 minutes or so ago, this crowd started to move into the street to try to block it off from any access going in or out. And that's when these clashes with law enforcement started, when they refused to get out to the sides of the street, these designated protest zones, and some shoving that was involved with the county sheriff, as well as state police that are out here, as well as Broadview police. You can see down here now, riot police coming down the road. And this is after a couple of weeks of mostly calm out here on Fridays. But this comes after a week of several rulings of judges where these activists out here feel empowered. They are celebrating this morning these rulings that really are complicating the Trump administration's immigration enforcement here. And you can see the riot patrol that is out here now. They're coming and they're securing this area. Gas masks are not out at the time. We know that has been deployed here, though, previously. But tension certainly getting up here high over the just last 10 or so minutes.
Look, you know, we've pulled back. We can really see the size of that crowd now, Garrett. So as you're narrating this, our live camera on the ground is able to bring more things into view, and I can see him zeroing in now. You mentioned local resources. Look, this is a sanctuary city. This is a sanctuary state. Are you saying that now the local authorities, and they have been cooperative on the perimeter, but are they helping even more today? And that would be out of necessity, according to what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, they've really been trying to walk a fine line here the past couple of months with these protests out here. And local law enforcement, state police has been trying to limit their enforcement to keeping the roadways clear. If protesters get in these roadways and they try to block or impede any traffic, whether that be regular commercial traffic or ICE vehicles, that they will be arrested, they will be detained. So really, it's just been a crowd control effort that local law enforcement and state police have been involved with here, trying to limit that. But as you mentioned, it is a fine line that a lot of protesters have been taking issue with, arguing that by doing that, they are in fact enabling and helping the federal government's enforcement.
How many more people would you say are out there? Because when this first blew up, this looks like a crowd that was larger than it was 2 months ago.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of last couple of weeks, the crowds have been a little bit smaller than what we had seen previously. Today is an exception. We're probably at, 200 to 300 people at this moment looking around. And, I got to think that is because of everything that has been in the news this last week regarding Operation Midway Blitz. Much of what protesters here have been calling for. Just yesterday, a judge and attorneys with the ACLU came to this facility and toured it after allegations of deplorable conditions. That's something that protesters have really been harping on out here over the past couple of months. So they feel emboldened by these actions that we're seeing in court to come out here and really celebrate that. But over the last 15 minutes, taking that beyond celebrating to really defying local law enforcement and the limitations they've been trying to place on protesters.
Look, as the nation watches this, you cannot miss the fact that people are willing to physically put their hands on immigration, custom, and enforcement agents. And you're talking about local law enforcement and SWAT being there as well. The line of the protect and serve being breached by citizens who think that this actually looks like free speech. I mean, Garrett, this looks violent in some points.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of those instances where when the police move in to try to back up these protesters, they don't want to leave the road and they start pushing back. And when you get a crowd this big, and initially before these riot police moved in, they're police here were outnumbered, so they're having to use more force than they would otherwise, and that's really where you start to see some of that violence escalate here, and that's when we saw multiple people arrested. At least a half dozen or so is what we saw so far, and we're going to see now that the police have moved in. Normally, over the last few weeks, we're having some movement over here again right now, Harris.
Yeah, we see it.
Mike, control around here so you can see this.
Yep, we see that.
Now, these are the folks that are being told to move out of the roadway, and they progressively continue to move further in, despite being pushed back, being asked to leave the roadway.
The ICE agents are getting pushed back, Garrett. They're outnumbered, as you said previously. I mean, it's obvious they're getting pushed back. Garrett, I'm going to ask you to stand by. We'll keep these live pictures from Broadview, Illinois. You are looking at a sanctuary area inside a sanctuary state. I want to bring in former acting ICE Director Jonathan Fahey on the phone with us now. Jonathan, I don't know what you can see, but I do want to talk with you about the protocol of dealing with a crowd this big. And did we even anticipate this is what it would look like? I mean, they're breaking through now.
Yeah, I'm watching this right now, live on Fox, and it does seem like this crowd is getting more violent and pushing back, and it's certainly not what we would call free speech. These are people that are deliberately provoking law enforcement, trying to have a confrontation, and you can tell just by their, you see the signs in the background of open borders and other things like that. These are people that are determined. They don't care about the conditions where people are being housed. That's a pretext because they want open borders and amnesty. And I think when you look at this, the big picture that I think is the worst part of this all is you have J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, and instead of saying ICE has a legitimate law enforcement function and they should be respected, he is on the side of these rioters, and I'll call them rioters because they seem to be getting violent, and on the side of people that are trying to prevent ICE from doing a legitimate job, which is in fact enforcing laws passed by Congress. And, it's also funny when you think about this week and you see these protests and you saw the numbers out of Chicago, the Operation Midway numbers, how much crime went down just in the short period of time.
Yes.
Murders 16%, robberies 40%, things like that. So this has been a great thing for the citizens of Chicago, and these people are just trying to disrupt ICE, disrupt law enforcement because they want an open border. It really is shameful.
Look on the steady now. We're seeing people taken out in handcuffs. And so this is live. And, one of the things that you cannot miss, and I want to ask you about how the law looks at this, Jonathan, because as acting ICE director formerly, you would know where the line is for people putting their hands on ICE agents, for people outnumbering them, as our reporter was showing us, and you could see it in the video, surrounding them, trying to push them back to where they wanted the ICE agents to go. Is any of that a breach of federal law?
Well, I think the issue here would be these are state law actors. So the breach of federal law would be if they're doing something that's impeding ICE from doing their functions. So if they're impeding people from being... But if they've got to fight this crowd,
doesn't that keep them from doing their jobs?
I think that would be the argument, that what they are doing is impeding ICE from being able to go to and from this facility to bring in migrants or to take them out. So I think there is an argument that if they get out of their designated area, that they are impeding federal law enforcement. And certainly on the state level, when they're laying hands on law enforcement, that's the end of it. You should be charged with obstruction and with assault. But I think you're exactly right. If they're preventing ICE from doing something that they would ordinarily be doing, difficult, which it appears that they may be, that would be obstruction of justice, or it's called impeding law enforcement. It's, I believe, 18 U.S.C. 111. So those would be the types of things they would be looking at. And we know their intention is exactly to do that. It's not to make a point. It's to prevent ICE from doing their job. And they state that over and over again.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.